If anyone would like to fill out a blue card, you've got a couple more minutes before the meeting starts. Good afternoon. It's 5 o'clock. I would like to call Culture Parish School Board meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. Reverend Desmond Wallace will lead us in prayer and pledge.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you again. We give you praise, God, and glory and honor for this day. We thank you, Father, for life, health, and strength. And just another opportunity, Lord, to take a breath, Lord God, and to just be used by you. We ask, Father God, that you will just have your way, even in this meeting that you have preordained and allowed us to be here for today. Guide our hearts and our minds, God. Every single one of us, Father, from those of us who serve in this capacity here in decision making for policy, as well as all of those who will be a part of presenting and even speaking on today. Guide us, God, because we want to do your will. Have your way. We thank you, God, for blessing us, our families, and just keeping us, God. It's in your Son, Jesus' name that we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Van Meter, whenever you're ready, we'll do roll call.
Yes, sir. Ms. Ahem.
Here.
Mr. Baumgartner. Here. Mr. Grove. Here. Mr. Castile. Here. Ms. Fontenot.
Here.
Ms. Gay.
Here.
Mr. Hardesty.
Here.
Ms. Hardy McReynolds.
Here.
Mr. Natale.
Here.
Mr. O'Banion.
Here.
Mr. Pichon. Here. Mr. Roberts. Here. Mr. Tarver.
Here.
Reverend Wallace.
Here.
Dr. Washington.
Present.
You have a form.
Thank you, Dr. Van Meter. Moving on to item number 3, executive session. A, executive session to discuss Conley versus Lake Charles School Board, which is now the Calcasieu Parish School Board, number 80-1709 as a supplemental to number 9981 USDC WD LA. Can I get a
So moved.
motion by Mr. O'Banion, seconded by Mr. Hardesty. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Go to executive session. We want the superintendent.
Superintendent's comments.
I need a motion to come out of executive session and resume our meeting.
So moved.
Ms. Fonda, make a motion, seconded by Mr. Groom. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Nope. Need one more motion to adjourn the meeting. Mr. O'Banion, seconded by Mr. Castillo. All in favor? Aye. Meeting's adjourned. You guys want to spare time? Y'all ready? Y'all ready to go?
Call to order, the AMP meeting, August 25th, 2026, 5:50 PM roughly. All in that roll call again?
All right, Reverend Wallace.
Here.
Schlumberger.
Here.
Dr. Washington. Mr. O'Banion. Here. Mr. Pishon. Here. Ms. Harden Reynolds.
Here.
Mr. Natal. Mr. Castillo.
Here.
Tally that. Mark your cousin.
You didn't call my name.
I ain't got there yet, Ms. Gay. Ms. Gay.
Here.
Ms. Fondo.
Here.
Ms. Ayo.
Here.
Mr. Tarver.
Here.
Mr. Brewer. Here. Mr. Roberts. Here. Mr. Hardison.
Here.
All right, you have one.
Item number one, personal business, leave without pay dash GBRIA.
Right. With this policy, over the past few years, we've had a number of deaths with just folks throughout the parish, and here lately especially, they've asked me to at least look at this and possibly make a change. So the change for this would be the bereavement leave, and it would be number one, would be scratching out what's in the red there and changing it to 3 calendar days within 2 calendar weeks of the death of the immediate family member. And at the bottom, the principal or department head shall be responsible for verifying and approving bereavement leave requested, which is much like it is now. You work with your principal on the days that you're gonna be out to make sure everything's covered. The change is merely, instead of the way it was written before, the calendar, the calendar day before, the calendar day of, and the calendar day after. If you've been through a funeral process, you know, sometimes you need those days kind of spread out. Excuse me, just to handle different things. Excuse me. As far as death certificates, sometimes it just falls on different days that you need to handle your business. So this way, those people have those 3 days that they can use how they need to use them, as long as they're getting approval from their administration. Is the change I'm looking to make. So that's what happened.
Ms. Godaz's recommendation. Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
All right,
Item number 2, bids and quotations -DJED.
All right, on this one, hopefully this will be very, very simple. The threshold number to put things out for, to advertise. The state has gone from 250,000 to 260. So there, I think 3 or 4 different times throughout this policy that you'll see that number just change from 250 to 260. And that's all there is on this change this time. State law change, yes, sir. Yeah, state law change.
We have to vote on it.
I bring them, this is just like forethought, most of the stuff I bring to you is a state law change, and I have to bring them to you so we can vote on them and say yay.
Approve on staff recommendation.
any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. Item number 3, discussion to adopt the state FP&C fee schedule for A and E schedule.
All right, I know with this one, you guys all received an email from one of our local architects, and when it was sent, we had already been kind of talking about this just in the office of staff, but just want the board to consider adopting the compensation formula published by the state of Louisiana, by the Office of Facility and Planning and Controls. This fee schedule is an established standard by the state. The fee schedule is used by multiple different parishes that we know just around here: Jeff Davis, Allen, also the city of Lake Charles, and I can name a few more if need be. One thing this is going to do for us, we have some documents. I went out to planning and construction office today and talked to Ms. Grigg. If anybody knows Ms. Grigg, you dealt with her in the past. We have a procedure manual for the design and construction of capital improvement projects, Calhoun Parish School Board, and this document is pretty old and outdated. And if we move to what we're talking about here, some things that will help us out. We can put things in these contracts and in the procedure manual that will help us with liability insurance. We can say we want architect to be there and have weekly meetings, roof inspections. You have to be if we're doing a roof job, you have to be on the roof, and we can spell it out for them. Change orders. We can make sure that we're talking about change orders and the fact that we don't want them this much. Also, if an architect, let's say an architect misses something as they're going through and presenting the job, everything seems to always fall on us. We can change that language in there and make it fall on them. Okay. especially if it's a new project. Sometimes renos, that's a little harder to know what you have, but a new project, they ought to cross the Ts and dot the Is. So, and on their side of it, instead of that 6% flat rate that we pay, it'll be a sliding scale. So smaller projects, they might make a little bit more money. Bigger projects, it might come down a little bit for us. So I think all the way around, this is something. And also, just to let y'all know, during the hurricanes and everything, this is what we used when we were dealing with CSRS. So this is something we're familiar with, and we feel staff-wise is something we probably need to move to and update everything we have going on, especially with the bonds that we've already passed and hopefully the bonds that we're going to pass. So just want to see if we want to move in that direction.
I'll move on staff recommendation.
Sorry.
Moved by Dean Roberts and seconded by, Russell Castillo. Any discussion?
Just, yeah, I know the hurricane project, CSRS, so, I mean, I just want to get some clarification on the architects missing things, because
Absolutely.
I've got a project
Yeah.
that things we missed, so.
I'll be getting with Natalie to have some conversations.
Any more questions? Oh, Mr. Brogan?
This is a version of what we did with EJ and Amended.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we did this a while back. We actually came to the board and had y'all vote to allow us to do this. What it does is it gets them, you pay them a lot to be able to do that, but it actually, because the way it's set up now, an architect can go and put in all their time and effort and drawing up all these plans and getting all this stuff done, hoping that a bond passes. If it doesn't pass, well, then they're out all the time and effort and money trying to create all that. By doing it this way, you're paying them up front. But what you're getting when you start to break ground is they've studied the project a lot better. They understand what's behind certain things, what's behind walls, whatever they've got to do in their examining the facilities in a much more in-depth manner than what we were in the past. So it's a more proactive approach. And I think it saves us money in the long run as opposed to having to hope and pray that something's right. That's what they know is right when they go and they look at it. When they come back to the board members with a dollar amount it's going to take to fix it.
Anybody else? All right, all in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion passes. All right, item number 4, employment for retired personnel -GBDA.
All right. We have, we worked on this one, for a little bit. You want to jump in? Yeah, okay.
So just kind of briefing you, the state changed retirement law and basically allowed folks who are 65 or over to retire, rehire. Okay. What we're proposing, what I'm proposing, is to look at this, and we have to adjust the policy anyway because we have a current policy on employment of retired personnel. Like we talked about last time, it treats certified personnel and non-certified personnel differently. In other words, it loops in your folks who have teaching certifications versus your support folks, right? And so we currently have support folks as they can retire, rehire if the state allows them to. The policy that we're putting forth does need to be adjusted a little bit because it limits the retirement system, but we need to adjust that to be whatever retirement system is applicable for that person. But what this does is allows our custodians, our paras, our clerks who are our plumbers who are 65 or older to retire, rehire. The one place that I'm a little hesitant, very hesitant, is on administrators, on school administrators and central office administrators. I'm hesitant because this happened to us years ago where we had a ton of central office administrators that retire, rehire. And so as this law changed, that sent alarm bells off for me. And so what I'm proposing is having this retire, rehire change be such that you can have folks retire, rehire, as long as they're going into a critical need area. And right now, we basically have certified teachers as a critical need area. We have guidance counselors and the speech folks like that in high need areas. But we also don't have administrators in high need areas. And eventually I can see maybe where you may have school administrators that fall into that. I would doubt very seriously we're ever going to have central office administrators fall into that. Right. So what this policy is written would allow, the proposed policy would allow us to do is we would be able to retire, rehire those folks, but it would be retire, rehired into critical shortage areas. In other words, someplace that the district needs them. To be honest with you, we're not talking about saving the district any money here. It's cost neutral. We're not talking about, tons and tons of people. We're talking about probably, I think it's 11 if it happened as of 7/1. You're talking about if your number is by the end of the year, you're probably going to have another. You're going to have a total of 14 in there in the pot, but they're mostly central office folks, and they're really good folks. I've talked to some of them. They're good people. But at the same time, it's one of those deals where when I look at the district as a whole and what happened with us last time in terms of retire, rehire, when this change happened, it just didn't sit right. So I'm bringing it to y'all today. Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry.
Bro. All right, so you confused me a little bit. Maybe chemo kicking in, but
Yeah.
Define critical need.
Yeah.
Let's pick on, let's say or Benty. Let's say Benty comes in, he wants to retire in the same spot. We're saying, no, you can't do that, but we will rehire you to go back in the classroom.
Roger that.
Let's say, Ms. Peggy wants to come in and retire, rehire.
Well, now hang on. Remember, we've got clerks that are in with the support staff, right? So clerks, paras, non-certified folks are defined in our policy differently, even right now, right? And this won't change that. We're non-certified folks, if they're able and eligible to retire, rehire with the state, they can do so.
I'm confused. It may just be me today, and I apologize. I had a very long, stressful day today, so I apologize for that. So using that, explain that one more time. Dumb it down to my level.
No problem. So we don't necessarily have a critical shortage area defined for support staff, right? So we have support staff separate, and it's like that in the policy now, where if you are a plumber or you are a custodian, you don't have a certification, so you're not in the certified pool. And also, I'm not sure, do we even have critical shortage areas for custodians and folks like that right now? Because it's not certified. So what ends up happening is we have critical shortage areas defined, and it's all within that certification area, right? The folks who are certified. So when we're talking teachers, a while back, it wasn't necessarily all teachers, right? It was folks like math and science folks or foreign language folks. And now we're getting to a point where it's hard to find certified teachers, period. We're getting to a point where with guidance counselors, for example, big shortage of guidance counselors now, and there will be even more in the future, right? So those types of folks are defined as critical shortage areas, right? And the state defines some, and we can actually even go and tell the state, we want to define these positions as critical shortage in our parish as well. So we have a little bit of flexibility there too.
Somewhat, but I'll.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. O'Bannon.
But as the state law is written,
State laws 65.
Yeah.
Roger that.
but I mean, on the critical shortage,
No.
janitors, plumbers, electricians. I mean, we've got a critical shortage.
Roger that, we do, but what ends up happening is those aren't necessarily defined right now by a critical shortage area. So what ends up happening is because it's not in the policy, they don't have to, even right now, they don't necessarily have to fall into that area. If they're, I mean,
If we choose, we can just adopt the state policy and anybody over 65.
yes, sir, that's an option.
On the administration, whatever the upper level, I mean, I know the situation we had in the past, but that's ultimately up to you to police that.
It is, but it's, yes, sir. And so, like I said, it's not that the folks that I anticipate are gonna be doing this or,
But
they're good people and
well,
they work
I
hard.
personally don't want to penalize the current for the past, And if we have somebody that's still effective and wanting to work, I mean, it's something we can do for them and doesn't cost us a penny.
Okay.
But I mean, we have some people under 65 that we need to hold accountable and, same.
Roger
same
that.
thing. Age is really irrelevant.
Roger that.
All right, Mr. Hardesty.
So this costs us nothing, correct?
Correct.
So, I mean, I don't know why we as a board need to police something. I mean, the state says 65. So I think we need to trust our superintendent to police it. Somebody that doesn't need to rehire, he should know that.
Yes.
Somebody that you do need to rehire. And look, before, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was, if you were able to retire at 53,
Roger
you
that.
could rehire, yeah, they're gonna go 20 more years. But at 65, most people are not gonna go 5, 7 more years. They're gonna get anyway. I mean, let's be honest.
Current company, absolutely.
So that's what I'm thinking. Like, I know if I'm a 65 and I'm able to retire and draw my retirement and still work, I'm probably not going past 72 because I'm gonna want my time. Now, I agree, we have seen it in the past, but not very many of them have gone past 72. How many?
I can't say that it went past
I know
72,
one.
sir.
Too many.
Yeah.
I know of one.
Mr. Tarver.
Okay. I'm still unclear. I don't wanna say I'm confused, except I don't like saying I'm confused, but I'm very confused. Okay. In the past, we had way too many. I'm just gonna say it. We have way too many of these situations, never leaving, here forever, getting paid double, not doing anything as far as I'm concerned, just getting all this. Definitely not interested in that, not interested in going there. But what is the current, did a state law changed
So,
currently, right now?
so what happened?
Can,
I'm sorry.
and I understand what you're saying about certificate and non-certificate employees, but the non-certificate employees, can they currently retire, rehire? Today? Yeah, today.
According to this,
That's what I'm kind of unclear on. I'm not entirely sure on what we're trying to do here.
so according to this, yes. Now, I mean, I don't know how much we do.
Your current
now.
policy is a critical shortage policy.
Okay?
It doesn't deal with age. You only hire people in critical shortage positions.
But I think what he's asking is the last section of the retire rehire policy says all other non-certified employees other than a bus driver can be reemployed at full-time, part-time, or temporary employment. And basically, we just have to send our reports to the agency. So that's what happens right now.
So I know what I'm definitely okay with, and that is anybody who wants to be in a classroom in front of kids, rehire them. But I don't know about, I'm gonna keep listening. I'm just gonna keep listening because I'm very unclear.
I've had my hand up. Okay.
Mr. Castillo.
Yeah, so the state law is
65 plus, regardless whether you're in the classroom or not, you can retire and be rehired.
Right.
That's the state law right now. So if we want to go back 20 years ago or whatever it was, a lot of these guys were 55 years old retiring, and they seem to manage to camp out towards the end of their years and get a paycheck. Now we're talking about something a little different. We're talking about somebody 65 years old that whether they're camping out or not, they're only going to camp out probably another 5 more years, okay, versus 20 years. As well, you're going to replace these people, okay, they retire. And then the movement's going to happen, okay? So then we're going to be hiring, then we're going to be starting a teacher classroom, right? Because now we have to go find a teacher, okay? If this person just retires right now, we got to go find a teacher because we're going to have the upward movement. I say if the law says it, then we need to continue it. We need to do what they say. Hey, when the law said you got to teach tier 1 curriculum, we didn't say we're not teaching tier 1 curriculum. The law said you're going to teach tier 1 curriculum. We taught tier 1 curriculum. Okay.
And
Unsuccessful. There you go. But so my point is, I think it's a different time right now, 65 plus versus 53 or 54 or whatever age it was, you know. And also, as the superintendent or whoever their supervisor is, they're the ones held accountable because I know you should get an evaluation every year. If they're not able to do their job, then they don't get to continue on. You know, that's simple. And that's the main thing about evaluations for employees and doing them fairly and being objective with them is we have to make sure that we evaluate every employee. Because you'll never get rid of any employee whatsoever in the school system if you don't give them evaluations. And I don't know how well we're doing on that, but I know we need to make a better effort to do that because there are people out there that probably shouldn't be in the position they're in. But you go look at their evaluation and guess what? It's good. There's no reason to get rid of it. You know, so we have to do, it has to be a better job at doing that. Regarding evaluations, if you really want to get rid of somebody that's not doing their job, regardless of the age. Age has nothing to do with it. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Roberts. So what are you asking for? You want us to write the policy that way to give you a tool to help you in that decision-making process?
right, so we have a policy right now with respect to employment of retired personnel, right? So if I were to go through and say, hey, look, I'm going to do it for these employees, I'm not going to do it for these employees, and it doesn't line up with the policy, I'm not going to have a leg to stand on, right? So if that's what I was going to do, then I've got to basically have policy in order to back me up if there's a policy based on that.
So your recommendation is to keep it to critical shortage areas as written
That's
and eliminate anyone else?
my recommendation is to, if you are going to be in an administrative role and you're going to retire, rehire, it has to be to retire, rehire into a critical shortage area. In other words, to go into a classroom or to go, you know, into a counseling office if that's where your certification is. So,
Has there been a motion, Mr. Chairman?
I still have a question.
Ms. Gay?
Okay. I think what a lot of people are failing to realize that, to me, and this is the way I look at it, every last one of these people in administrative positions didn't just walk into an administration position. I think you yourself started in the classroom, am I right?
Yes,
Dr. Van Meter? Mr. Barentine, did you not start in the classroom and you pursued a progression of moving upward? So now we're going to penalize these 65-year-olds who started in these same classrooms. Sister, didn't you start in a classroom? Okay, so now as you move up and you do better and you learn more and you're in a different, Dr. Washington, did you start in a classroom? Okay, so now we're penalizing the people who started at the very bottom, worked hard, moved up. I'm sure when you started in your classroom, Dr. Van Meter, you thought, I think I want to be a principal. So you worked towards that. And now that you become superintendent, the head of the district, these other, I think if you wanted to retire, but I know you're not 65, but how many people do we actually have that are 65?
So in administrative positions?
Right.
That's what I said. We've got, in administrative positions right now, we've got about 11. By the end of the year, we'll have about 14, and the majority of those are gonna be in central office. And I'd like to point out too, that you're right. I started in a classroom, and I was in a classroom when we had the retire, rehire before. And I remember being in a classroom saying, man, we got folks in central office and in administration retire, rehiring? That doesn't seem right.
Well, I was here also. And a lot of them, like Mr. Tarver said, were just hangovers, but those were people who were retiring at 55 and 53, 54. And I don't know for what reason, because I retired at 56, but I had family issues with illnesses and stuff. But I'm kind of like Mr. Hardesty. At 65, you're not gonna hang around 15 more years just because you're retired. These people know their jobs, and as someone said down there earlier, if they were not doing their jobs, they should have been let go a long time ago. So we pretty much know that these are efficient people in their positions currently, and they're getting the job done. I think Mr. Barrington doing a good job. You 65 yet, Mr. Barrington? I think you're
He's
doing
got a
a
couple
good
more
job.
years. He's got a couple more years.
You got a few more years? Okay, but I think it's unfair because these people have worked hard to get to the central office. True, many years ago, it was a farce. There were, and it was just too top heavy. But I don't think we're as top heavy now as we were then, because as you started filling positions back then you've been writing some evaluations and kind of cleaning house down there. But I think it's a good thing. I support the state's recommendation, because if they're not doing a good job, then you don't have to let them come back. And that will be their answer. But if they're doing a good job, and it's gonna be difficult to replace these people if, in training. And we're in a critical area right now where we're losing staff and faculty. A lot of our employees now probably won't work to 50. They're looking for other things. So I support the state's ruling. 65, you come back. If you're not doing a good job, you can't come back.
I just want to say I'm in support of it. I look at this, if I was 65 in this position, whether I'm in administration, our teachers, whatever, you work for this. No one, you should get penalized because you made a decision to advance yourself. And if the state is for it, I'm for it. I just don't think that we need to penalize anyone for it. I'll use my husband fixing to be at that age. So he gets full Social Security and his full check. I mean, it benefits the household. I don't think anybody should be penalized because of their age. Now, you can police and do what you need to do for as if they didn't work well, don't rehire them. You should have that control. And we support you 100%. So I just think we need to look into our hearts and say, what if I was in that position? Would you want that to be done to you or your mother or your father?
Yeah, and I understand what you're saying. And like I said, I know the folks, who I've talked to, and they're good people. Nothing against those people, right? But when I look at the policy and the decisions that we have to make, I try to make the best decisions for the district, right? Not necessarily for one or two people. So that's why I put this
And
forward
Dr.
today.
Benmia, excuse me for saying it, but it's no cost to us.
Oh,
So,
admit it. Yeah,
if it was a cost to us,
I said that. Roger that. I said that.
And then
Yes,
you
ma'am.
also showing other people in the district how we value our employees, especially when they're doing their jobs.
Dr. Wallace?
You know, and I'm not gonna be long because everybody has spoken, especially Ms. Gay, hit on some of the areas that I was really going to hit on. But I heard this word twice, penalize, penalize, penalize. And that's exactly what it seems like. I mean, we're giving everybody else an opportunity under this policy and those that have been selected, the opportunity to take full advantage of this policy. But when it comes to administrators, you want us to say, you can't do that. And the law states differently. Basically, that's what it is. So if the board, if we vote tonight, that means that we'll be penalizing and leaving out administrators. And so basically, that's what it is. When there's already parameters and safety guards set in place that are in policy now, as already stated, for evaluations and so forth, but this is talking about 65 and older. This isn't the past. And I know that a lot of times we learn from the past, but we are in today. And I think that it would also benefit, as they qualify, whatever the case may be, the district to keep seasoned, knowledgeable, and individuals who are very aware of what we need as a district in whatever capacity they may be in. It's only about 11, you said, to help us to continue to move forward. But one other thing, I've been hearing 10 or 11 administrators. So let's do this. When we say administrative, what is your definition of administrative positions? What do you classify? Is that supervisors, directors,
Yes.
or those who work in capacities that are in administration?
Sure. So it is, if it happened on 7/1, which is when everything took effect, you're talking about 11 total, 7 of which are in central office. You're talking directors, managers, supervisors. You do have 4 folks who are in a school.
How many directors specifically?
1, 2, 3 directors. You've got a planner, an office manager, a supervisor, and another supervisor.
Okay.
2.
So with that, how much does it cost the district versus what last time?
Yes, sir.
And this time?
So, like I said before, it's no cost.
Okay. So again, when I hear the word penalizing, that's basically what we're doing. You know, we're taking and we're talking about, making sure equity amongst people. And equity means that, you know what? And equal access means that I'm not going to choose you and allow you to do this, and I'm going to tell you you can't. And so I'm not in support of the alternative to the policy that you're presenting tonight. I do believe we need to keep the law as is, and you as a superintendent and administrative staff can continue to do what you do to make sure that we have adequate and effective and efficient staff.
Hey, can we clarify is there a motion? There's no motion yet? I just want to know which way we're discussing. Are we just,
Dr. Washington?
Yeah. Can I make a motion?
Yeah, I'll say.
Yes. I move that we, revert our policy to reflect the state law.
I will say.
Motion by Dr. Washington, seconded by Mr. Hardison. Blue cards. I have 2 blue cards. Go back to discussion. Blue cards, Miss Melinda DeClude Hardy. DeClude, I'm sorry, Miss Melinda DeClude Hardy.
I am a central office supervisor. However, I started off as a classroom teacher. I answered the call, and I love teaching. It was other people who saw in me potential to be an ed leader, so I answered the call to be a principal. It was others who saw in me, I guess, the skill set to advance to central office, and so I applied. And I'm very thankful for all of those opportunities. I loved teaching, and so I did walk that journey, and I answered that call, and I apologize for being redundant. I've had the conversations with my immediate supervisor as well as the superintendent, and I voiced my opposition to what they're presenting tonight, and respectfully. it's unsettling for me to talk tonight because I'm a team player and I've been raised to respect authority and my elders. And they're not my elders, but they're my authority. And so I professionally, respectfully walked out of Dr. Van Lee's office Friday saying, I oppose this. I'm not for this, and I do take it personally. And I feel like I'm being penalized. I do. And he said, Ms. Hardy, I don't see that way. We value you. You can work for 10, 15 years, whatever, however long you want to work, Ms. Hardy. I said, okay, then let me get what I've earned. Let me receive what I've earned. It's no cost, and I don't mean to be redundant. Yesterday, I had a telephone call, again, with the let me get her title correct. She is the representation for the retirement system. She's the administrator for benefits. Her name is Jessica Troscliffe. And she asked me a few questions. Ms. Barrington and I have spoken to her before on this return to work law, which became effective July 1. Why the pushback from Calcasieu? I said, I wish I could answer that wholeheartedly. I'm singling out Melinda Hardy, being that I will be approaching 65. I know I don't look a day over 50. But I will be approaching 65, and she said that they did a study, the state did, to determine how they could offer more options. Act 344 followed the recommendations outlined in the Return to Work Study Group, which was formed in response to Senate Study Resolution 1 of the 2025 regular session. This request was to study approaches to TRSL retirement reemployment and identify potential changes to current policy that balance retiree options and impact, employer staffing needs, and ease of usage, as well as retirement system actuarial, I can't ever say that word correctly, impact and financial costs. Mr. Tarver and Mr. Bro and Mr. Roberts and Mr. Hardesty, I apologize, I didn't call you all, I only called the committee members just to talk to you and air my concerns and my opposition. Act 344, Mr. Tarver, the Louisiana legislature passed a new return to work law in 2026 regular legislative session that replaces all other return to work laws, simplifies the rule and offers more reemployment options to TRSL. This is a public notification that goes out annually returning to work after retirement. And I will preface just this paragraph here that I emailed several of you, you have it. At the age of 65 or older, retirees who are age 65 or older can return to work in any position without any impact to their retirement benefits after fulfilling a 12-month waiting period. Meaning if I am allowed to retire and rehire after 1 day of break in service, I would not receive my retirement benefits until 12 months. I would work 12 months receiving my current salary. After 12 months, then I would receive what is mine, no cost to the district, as everyone has been told, my retirement check. I want to also say to you that I live every day and I see every day the challenges of recruiting teachers. We're at McNeese 4 times a year. We're at the Louisiana Works quarterly job fairs. We're at most of the surrounding universities to recruit. We understand the challenges of recruiting teachers. There's also a return to work law for a critical shortage, separate from this new law. Every year, HR supervisors, we look forward to when the session ends and what's the changes. As Dr. Van Meter stated, years ago when critical shortage was offered to teachers, it strategically identified only science and math teachers. And then each year it evolved and just kind of broadened the range to allow us to offer critical shortage area teachers an option to come back to work. There are some other stipulations, but it didn't stipulate age. If you retire, you wait 12 months, you can come back. And it also offered local control to districts. So we kind of write the script of how we will rehire them in what area, elementary, middle, high, special ed, along with those other positions that Dr. Van Meter identifies, school counselors, speech pathologists, therapists, deaf and hard of hearing. There is an existing return to work law for critical shortage, separate from what this new law has just been put into effect for 65 and older in. This is the first year that I know of, and I'll be corrected if I've said something incorrect, that the law that became effective July 1 intentionally identifies 65 and older retirees. It didn't say teachers, it didn't say counselors, it didn't say support, it said retirees at 65. Hear me, please. I am 1,000% support, always for teachers. 1,000% for support. My dad cleaned Kirkland Street as a custodian, so I know the work value of support people. I proudly stand before you to say I am just over the moon that I had the opportunity to teach, coming from 10 siblings, and my daddy cleaned a school board office. But yet I was able to obtain a college degree and go beyond. I'm only asking you, and I'm kind of leaving my script, so I don't want to take up more time. Again, what does it cost the district to rehire retirees in this current position? You address that. If the state recognizes and offers options to rehire valued employees, why not accomplish it? Why exclude a group of employees when Act 344 offers this option to all, keyword, who are eligible at 65 and older? I heard what Dr. Van Meter said, and he knows my stance, and I shared my opposition. You know, you're comparing apples to oranges. That's the old adage. Back then, in the day, when I too was a teacher, possibly maybe a principal, and I heard central office, that wasn't my focus, what they did. My focus was teaching children. So those who retired, that's their business. They're working, they're functioning, they're offering me support. I don't care if they got 12 checks. They're helping supporting me. And you comparing that to today. Well, if the state approved it back then for people to retire at any age and allowed it, it happened. Today, the state strategically identified an age of 65. And so with that intention of what you said, who's gonna work 20 years at 65? Not Melinda Hardy. Not even 15 years or 10, maybe 5 or 3. I'm turning red now, so I'm gonna go sit down. I feel it. And I just want to thank you all for what you do. Congratulations to all of you unopposed. Thank you for those of you who are going home. I share the sentiment of no longer serving. Hallelujah. Exhale. And to those of you who are contested, we're praying for a favorable outcome. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Terry Johnson.
Terry Johnson, Southwest Louisiana Federation of Teachers. I have to say this, if I was a supervisor and I retired, and my degree would be in science or middle school, social studies, whatever. I had been out of the classroom for 10 to 12 years and going backwards if I go back into the classroom, because I have worked my way up and I'm good at my job, and the institutional knowledge that you would lose would be a great deal. I just feel that the state made this 65, that's it, you know? We should follow the state law. And everybody's said pretty much everything, but if you put yourself in a administrative position and you hadn't been in the classroom for quite a while, I don't think it would be a great service to yourself or the students. And if we're talking people who know what they're doing. That's the legacy and the institutional knowledge that in their later years, they can train someone. 65, well, I'm past that. So, but I'm still working. It is what it is. Just know that the possibilities of losing some good people would be obvious if you vote for this change. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. All right, we have a motion. Second round of discussion on the motion. Mr. Burke.
One thing that kind of comes up on this whole deal, and it was brought up once or twice, but it's evaluations. If we have somebody that is wanting to retire, rehire, and we know that we don't want them back, but our evaluations are saying that they're acceptable, that's a problem. That's a problem in all kinds of stuff. That causes brain drain. I mean, I've been on this board to be 25 years at the end of this year. I've seen the brain drain that happens in this when we've had several people that just would not go away and people have left it to go somewhere else. So I get that, but it comes to a point where that's got to stop, and it all comes around the evaluations. If the administrators aren't bold enough to tell their best friend or somebody they've worked with for 25 years that they're horrible at their job, or they need to do these 5 or 6 different things to be able to get a satisfactory rating, then that's a leadership problem. I'm not talking about you, but I mean, that's a leadership problem all the way up and down the leadership chain. It was brought up, people hadn't been in the classroom for years. I had brought up several years ago, and it didn't go anywhere. I think we ought to look at this as a board again. I'll bring it up again. I think every administrator, from you all the way down, ought to have to teach at least 1 week a year in a classroom. Because there's a lot of times that y'all get so removed from what's going on in the classroom, you cannot relate to what a teacher is having to deal with. From all the papers, the forms, the testing, they spend more time filling out a bunch of crap than they do teaching and what they need to do. And I think a lot of if y'all had to deal with that for at least 1 week a year, I think a lot of that would get better. But a lot of it comes down to evaluations. Now, I'm fine with supporting the state's 65 deal, but it also gets back to the point where what I don't want is if we have somebody that is good in a position and they want to retire, rehire, and if they are a shining star in that, let's rock and roll. But I also don't want them in there for another 10 or 15 years to be able to do that. So my question is, can I amend the state's program and put in that we limit them to 3 years, that a 3-year contract, or 2 years? That, in other words, we retire, you rehire, we'll do that, but you're going to be limited to 2 or 3 years, whatever the board decides.
I know that your idea sounds good, but there's something called the Age Discrimination in Employment Act. And how do you convince the court that limiting it to 3 years is an age discrimination?
Well, if it's an administrator, they're on a 2-year contract, aren't they? Yeah. Then can we limit it to a one-term contract?
It's the same issue. What are the reasons you are limiting it to 2 years, 3 years, 1 year, other than age?
Brain drain. It's what it is. It's not against anybody who's that age, but if you want to get that, you want to do that, that ought to be, if we can't limit it, then we can't limit it. But I don't know. I mean, I would support the state's version of it, but I just think we need to have some come to Jesus meetings on these evaluations. We all know what the problems are.
All right, Mr. Bichon.
So just to be clear, so with the way it's set up either way, they would be able to retire, rehire after the 1 day for the same position they have, with the way the state is set up?
the way the state is set up is if you are 65 or older, no matter the position, you are eligible to retire, rehire. You have to sit out 1 day and then you can essentially return to your job.
And it's guaranteed they're getting that same position.
I mean, I don't know how, if the state has said that, but I don't know that the state has said that, but I can tell you that this right here is one of the things that we talked, because we talked about several different options. I told folks what made me uncomfortable, right? And I told y'all what made me uncomfortable and why it made me uncomfortable, right? And this is what we came up with that, you know, made me more comfortable. And then also Mr. Belfour said is legal, right? So they don't necessarily have to return to their same position, because with this, they would be returning to a position that we need them, right? We know we need teachers, we know we need guidance counselors, we know we need speech folks.
So I guess my main concern is, Mr. Still touched on it earlier, is we're going to send these people back to the classroom and then we're going to promote somebody else. They're going to retire year, 2 years maybe. And are we really getting the full value of them? Are they really coming in with the real heart to be teaching the students after that by having to go back to their position? That's my only concern with that, would be we're just going to be putting ourselves back in the same spot we were a year or two previous.
Dr. Washington?
Just along the same lines as Mr. Pichon, you know, I think I'm probably in this situation right now because I retired and I was rehired in a different district. Spent 1 year, not quite 1 year in the classroom, and the superintendent came and asked me if I would serve in an administrative role. I think most of the administrators that are in this position, I think they have the same gifts and talents. And I do think that we would be at a disadvantage not to not to use those skills in order to promote and continue to grow our district. I just need to know what type of assurances would they have if they decide to retire on the premise of retire, rehire. Would they be able to return to that position after that day they set out? What assurances would we give them? Would it be, is there a contract just for retire, rehire?
I would think they're gonna have, if they're gonna be in their same position, but they've retired, they're gonna have to sign another contract. Because that contract they would have been void if they retired, yes.
So would they be offered a contract on that the day after they set out and returned? And would that contract be a 2-year contract? And would they have the same?
I don't know that we have different, that's what I'm saying. I don't know that we have different contracts for retirees and who have rehired. I think it's the same contract.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
You know, Dr. Van Meter, in my position, if I don't do my work, I'm going home, and I already know. I already know that. But I do have protections, and I would like to know that these people have protections too. That they are just not let go for anything. I mean, that they have a contract and they still have to abide by our labor laws.
Yeah, so I mean, we have retirees who have rehired now in the teaching roles. I assume they get, I'm looking at the personnel folks, I assume they get a regular teaching contract?
Yes.
Is it a different contract for them? No. That's what I think. Yeah.
My difficulty with all of this is we ignore the concept that when a person retires, a position is open. What do we do with a position that's open? We generally advertise, we interview, and logic tells you that the person who is retired is going to be mostly hands down the best person to be rehired. but do we ignore our normal hiring procedures just because somebody says they're retiring? I don't know that we should do that, even though it seems like it's a waste of time. It's not our procedure. I'd never envisioned that a person who retires can the next day walk in and says, you have to hire me. I never saw it that way. State law doesn't require that. What it requires is that a person who is 65 and who retires is eligible for rehire. I don't think it says anything about you have to rehire them the next day. So those are my thoughts, and maybe I didn't make that clear to staff, but I'm still not sure how you automatically rehire somebody the next day.
So they have to re-interview for their own job? They have to re-interview for their own job? Is that what?
The position's now open, so what do you do with an open position? Your procedures all say you advertise, you interview, and realistically, like Ms. Hardy, I can't imagine somebody else would be more qualified than she would be for her position. So maybe it seems like a vain and useless thing, but to me, you'd have to rewrite a whole lot of policies besides your retire policy if you're going to say that you automatically rehire a retiree. Just my thoughts.
All right, Mr. O'Banion.
I'm gonna, use my Robert's Rules of Order and call the question.
Is it a 2/3 vote call for question?
Two-thirds vote, not debatable.
All right, do we roll call that, or we just?
Yeah, you have to roll call it. This is a call, this is not. 2/3 vote, stop debate.
All right, so a yay vote stops the debate, and a nay keeps it going. Okay. All right, let's go roll call. Ms. Belinda Gay,
Yay.
Mr. Natale. Oh, he's gone. Mr. Castillo,
Yes.
Ms. Fontenot,
Yes.
Mr. Pishon,
Yes.
Ms. Hardy McReynolds.
Pass me up, I still abstain.
Mr. O'Banion,
Yes.
Reverend Wallace,
Yes.
Dr. Washington,
Yes.
Ms. Ayo,
Now, we're trying to end all this question.
Doesn't matter, not debatable.
Mr. Tarver,
Yes.
Mr. Hardesty,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Mr. Roberts.
And Mr. Roberts, I'm sorry.
Oh, wow.
It's a no now.
Mr. Pishon, did I ask you already?
Didn't the staff representative used to call the roll call?
Oh,
Maybe we need to go back to that.
my bad. I'm still off on that.
We got it.
Mr. Brown?
No.
I think we have enough votes to call the question, right?
Okay, so we're going back to the motion. Dr. Washington, seconded by Mr. Hardesty. Motion was to adopt the state guidelines for 65 years of age retiree hire policy.
Can I amend my motion?
That is not a question I can answer.
I think she can, right?
Motion. We have to vote on the motion now.
Well, she amends it.
I think debate is ended, so you don't have any amendments, anybody's discussion.
Perfect.
Okay, no more discussion. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Motion to adjourn.
Say that.
Can we have another report? the agenda?
All right. Let's call the A and P committee meeting to order, August 25th at 6:58. All right, let's call the state AHP meeting to order. It is 25th, 7:01.
So we'll call Ms. Ayo,
Here.
Mr. Baumgartner. Here. Ms. Bando. Mr. Hardis.
Here.
Ms. Hardy McReynolds.
Here.
Mr. Talley. Mr. O'Bannon.
Here.
Mr. Pichon.
Here.
Reverend Wallace.
Here.
Dr. Washington. Mr. Brogue. Mr. Castillo.
Here.
Ms. Gay.
Here.
Mr. Roberts.
Here.
Mr. Talker. We have
We have one item on the agenda, CNI overview, I believe it's for informational purposes only.
Yes, ma'am. So tonight, first and foremost, I want to thank you guys for allowing us to come before you today. This is our annual back to school CNI meeting where we try to give you guys an overview or a review of the year that just passed and also what we're doing this upcoming year. If you notice tonight, the CNI staff is not here just because we anticipated, obviously, this was going to be our third meeting tonight, and also want to be respectful to CNI staff and their families so they can be home tonight. But I will give you an overview of every department and the direction that we're heading in this particular year. The first thing I want to talk about is the most recent pupil progression plan that you guys adopted on last week. I just wanted to put it out there that this is probably one of the most aggressive, intentional pupil progression plans that we've passed and adopted in recent years. I will say that this is by far the most changes. I definitely want to give recognition to Ms. Krista Foltz, who spearheaded that direction. But we also added new people to the committee. Obviously, with the recent retirement of Mr. Brinkley, who headed that in recent years. But I want to say that I think that it speaks a little bit more to where we're going, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to enforce. And I think it gives us a more simple plan of how we're guiding and making decisions in the district at every level, K through 12. Excuse me. For this thing, I think the biggest discussion for tonight, I definitely want to go off agenda like we normally do, but it was just more so to make sure that I'm conveying the information to the board that obviously Louisiana Department of Education has had a major shift in accountability. We obviously received our recent accountability scores as far as where we're performing as far as ELA, math, science, and social studies. Transparently, I want to make sure that everyone is informed that we had a couple of schools that did have single-digit proficiency. Obviously, that's not acceptable at any level, so we do know that there's room to grow. So we definitely have several things that we put into place to ensure that we're not having the same conversation as last year. This is not to take away anything that the central office staff or the CNI department is doing or the school administration. Obviously, when you have a shift of accountability, you're going to have some changes, and we have to be able to adapt and pivot to some things. The focus is still going to be on literacy. Obviously, across the board, we have to make sure that our babies are better equipped to be able to read at every level, and obviously graduate being able to read at grade level. What we have adopted is still utilizing the NIT best practices. Those of you who are familiar with NIT, it's the National Institute for Education and Teaching. This is something that the state has adopted. It's come to our district through a grant. This is not something that we're actually paying for out of pocket, out of general fund. This is something that for the third year that I've been in this role that we've been able to utilize NIT, where we basically have people who are coming into our district each and every month that is going into our schools, specifically schools that have labels like CRR and URR schools. So we're definitely utilizing that. The main thing that we're going to change anything, we have to focus on teaching and learning. The focus has to be on instruction, which is why we're being intentional this year. We're making sure that there's an ILT, which is an instructional leadership team meeting happening at least once a week on every campus, along with TC meetings, which is teacher collaboration meetings. Obviously this year, we have a new person in charge, but Ms. Brandy Trahan has done a phenomenal job of onboarding 200 plus teachers. Again this year, obviously in the past, Ms. Julie Spann had that job, and again, she was onboarded about 200 plus teachers every year. The trend data is showing that we're constantly adding new teachers. This could be because of retirement, but at the end of the day, as we talked about some of the previous discussions in the previous meeting, we know that we have teacher shortages. Teacher shortages cannot be the reason why we yield outcomes of single-digit proficiency. So we have to do a better job of building capacity of those who were put in the classroom. When we talk about building capacity of those that were put inside of the classroom, one thing that we have to recognize is that our local college universities, and I'm not just speaking specifically for Lake Charles, but just across Louisiana and other parts of the country, we're not graduating educators at a high rate, but we are graduating people. And so people are making a decision once they get past the bachelor's degree to become educators. It's not their first priority, but they are transitioning to educators. And then, like Dr. Van Lee says it all the time, we're taking people from local restaurants and local retail spots that have degrees, and we're transforming them into teachers. And we're okay with that. And CNI, just the same way we deal with administrators, we're telling people the same way we want our parents. We're expecting them as they are, and we're taking them what we have, and we're building capacity with them. With that being said, that's the reason why we implemented the teacher collaborations at least twice on every campus in Patrick Parish School Board, because the only way we're going to build a better teacher is if we actually teach them. Speaking of teaching them, someone made this comment earlier about if we're in the schools. Last year, and we refined that process this summer, but the central office staff is literally living in the schools. There's documentation that can be made available to any one of you to see how much we're frequenting the schools that you represent, but we are literally living in the school, and we're not just showing up to just say hello, how you doing, and looking for photo ops. We're actually inside the classroom, but we're also trying to train and develop the leader. Okay? Because at the end of the day, when we're having single-digit proficiency in some of the schools, we have a deficiency in leadership, but we also have a deficiency inside the classroom. The only way to make that better is to take people who are considered district experts and put them in the trenches where we're having the most efficiency. So the principals and the teachers can attest that we're not there to say, hey, we got you. We're there to actually be there to grow you by using tools like Bullseye and teaching collaborations to show that we're actually supporting and with the follow-up, not just showing up once a month or once a week, but following up. And that continuous cycle of feedback is really yielding great gains for us. We talked about focusing on instruction, but also would say this, we're doing a better job as far as spending dollars the correct way. Obviously, the Louisiana Department of Education is ensuring that we're just using Tier 1 curriculum. We haven't always done that the right way, but I will say this, this is probably by far the best job the district has done as far as spending tax dollars and buying Tier 1 curriculum. Not only purchasing Tier 1 curriculum, but we're making sure that it's implemented the correct way. Because it's one thing to buy the curriculum and it looks good on paper, but it's another thing when you actually have to implement it correctly. When you're saying implement the curriculum correctly, we also have to make sure that the teachers have the knowledge and the skill set along with the will set to be able to convey that information. Because a lot of times we have so many new teachers that, yeah, we're telling them which curriculum to use, but we're not sure that it's implemented with fidelity. So I will say that the usage of the NIT best practices along with consistent teacher collaborations has ensured that for us. Holding people accountable. This was a conversation in the previous committee meeting where we talked about evaluations. Our evaluations are rooted and tied directly to intensive coaching plans. These coaching plans are housed in the Bullseye software, but at the same time, we're trying to coach people to be better. It's one thing to evaluate a person and tell them that they're ineffective, but at the same time, we have to recognize that we're not retaining a high number of teachers, which is why we're constantly bringing in 200 plus people a year. And it's not to anybody's fault, but instead of having people running away from this profession, we want to make sure that we retain them just as much as we're recruiting them every single year. But we have developed individualized coaching plans that can help people to become a better educator, also better leaders as well. So I definitely want to make sure that I pointed that out. Every school in our district has received a tier number. Where we rate schools and their administrative team on the tier from Tier 1 2 or 3. Obviously, Tier 3, we want to make sure that we're providing the most extensive supports, which means that they may have more visits. So a lot of times if you see your principals or your assistant principals when you're talking to them and they feel like, hey, it seems like central office is popping up on my campus entirely too much, it's not saying that they're doing something wrong, but we feel like those campuses need a little bit more support and a little bit more love, or a better way to support them without having the people who are considered experts in the district and those people who have actually walked a day in their shoes. So it's not like they just receiving support from anybody. Most of the people in CNI, I would probably say about 98%, has actually been a principal or an assistant principal of sort. So they've actually been in those particular shoes. So we're actually trying to make sure we're doing that. Continuous with alignment. This is something that I spoke to you my first year as the chief academic officer, and I told you that a part of the problem that we were having is not that we were not doing the work, it's just that we were not correctly aligned. And when we say aligned, we need to be aligned from the early childhood program all the way to the 12th grade and post-secondary options and beyond. But we have done a better job of making sure that early childhood and the preschool department is effectively communicating with the elementary department. Our elementary department is effectively communicating and preparing, better situated for the middle school department. And our middle school department is preparing and effectively preparing the 8th grader for our high school department. And all of that is included within our special education students as well. So we've been very intentional about how we treat and obviously educate our diverse learners. I also want to talk about with the new accountability system, it speaks to everybody growing. So it's not like we're excluding any type of child. At the end of the day, when we talk about grow, achieve, and thrive, it's talking about growth, and we obviously focusing more so on the lower 25% of our students. So I'm not saying that those students were forgotten about before, but it's kind of hard to hide behind a number where we usually have many high flying students or high achieving students that can overcompensate for the kids that's just not achieving. Now, if you look at the new accountability system, the state is paying direct attention to the students who are not growing. So I just want to prepare you for this. In the event that you see the numerical value change, obviously we're going from a 150-point system to a 100-point system. You're going to see some things that's going to shift. And the first thing, I think the most eye-catching thing is going to be the numbers seem to have drastically dropped. It's not specifically saying that our schools are performing worse. It's just that that's just one of the changes with the accountability system. As far as I just want to make sure that, for those, I know I said grow, achieve, and thrive, but I want to make sure when we're talking about that as far as accountability, the growth sector is just basically making sure that every student is progressing along the way. The achieve factor is making sure that we're reaching proficiency with every student. And the thrive component mostly speaks to high school, but making sure that we're preparing every student for life, as far as life is ready. You've heard me say this before, but at CNI, the driving force is to make sure that we're preparing every student for either career, college, or life readiness. The next thing I want to speak to you about is professional development. I will say this, that we've had an amazing start to this particular school year as far as the professional development is concerned. We ended very good with the Leadership Summit, which was held at the South and 9th grade campus, but that has now transferred over to the beginning of the year, where our back to school in-services are now more conference style. And when I say conference style, pretty much every department has individualized some things where they're offering 50 to 60 breakout sessions for our educators. Obviously, in recent years, we've kind of retracted a little bit because of funding, and we're not sending as many people off to conferences, which is okay, because I feel like for years we've done that a lot. But now being intentional with the dollars that we're spending, we're starting to build conference style professional development right here in our district, and it's led by the central office staff. So even though we still have people who are venturing out to other states and out of the state conferences and things like that, we're now utilizing all that information that we've gathered, and we're delivering that right back to the teachers and the administrators. So I'm so happy to report that every back to school in service for teachers, administrators, support staff, I want to make sure they were included as well. But those people have done a phenomenal job as well as the administrative directors level. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Some new initiatives that we're working on. It's no secret that if you look at our job opportunities board, in the last couple of years, we've had a high turnover of administrators who are just retiring. But we also obviously have had to hire many new assistant principals and principals. I say this every month on the CAO call, but it rings true where I say that, hey, basically we're interviewing every single day for the job that you want to keep and the job that you hope to one day have. In doing that, listen, let's just be realistic. Those of us who've ever participated in an interview, we know that sometimes that 20 to 30-minute interview is not the perfect telltale of who you are as an individual and how much change can you impact in our district. So in doing that, we're also offering a continuous learning environment for our novice APs and principals. And what's happening is basically we're going to meet quarterly with them just to offer additional support, because even though they've earned the right to be able to be in that role, they still need a little bit more individualized support. The other thing too, we're looking for the next generation of CPSB leaders. And I think the best way to do that is to catch people who are obviously EDL certified, who may not have gotten an opportunity to be in an administrative role. We're talking about obviously the age ranking at 65, but at the end of the day, there's a younger population of people who are hungry. And whenever that time does present itself for them, we just need to make sure they're CPSB ready. And I say CPSB ready because I honestly think that it's one thing to be EDL certified, but I think you need to be able to walk the walk and talk the talk inside of our district. CPSB obviously is one of the 5th or 6th largest districts in the state of Louisiana, and it's very unique because we deal with many things that affect our school system. So understanding the type of leader that CPSB need, I think is critical, and that's why we're going to start the CPSB Emerging Leaders Program. It's going to be led by individuals who are recommended from their administrative director who currently do not hold an administrative position. So hopefully we'll be able to build a strong portal of people who we're going to hold accountable for leading our schools. The last thing I want to say before I open it up for questions is that I do feel like the tracking system is working very good for us. I can say that honestly, I feel that every school and every department in this district is being touched by central office employees. I think our consultants are doing a phenomenal job of professional development. Giving a shout out to them. We have these things called Learn and Grow, where obviously we're taking advantage of the virtual platform where we can actually professionally develop teachers throughout the day during their planning period, because many of these people have the same planning schedule as people in other parts of the district. So I do feel like we're doing a phenomenal job of just growing the teacher. And I am charging the administrative directors and the directors to make sure that we're growing the leaders on campus as well. And that kind of concludes my report. Again, I wanted to shift from the traditional agenda because I felt it was needed to just give you an actual post check, not just speak to what every department is actually doing. Any questions?
Dr. Washington. Good evening, Mr. Harvey. Good evening.
Good evening.
You talked a lot about students in need of services and supports. And I just wanted to know if you could briefly touch on those services and supports that you provide for those students that achieve the above.
Students that yielded those single-digit proficiencies? I'm talking about the students who yielded single-digit proficiencies, or referring to students?
No, I'm talking about those students that are almost at advanced. What do you do for those students who are not gifted, but they score in that range between mastery and almost advanced?
Well, we continue to grow them. There's direct supports that shows that students still continue to need to grow. So we're extending the learning. We're offering a little bit more individualized instruction, but every department is going to look a little bit different. Like I just had this conversation with Dr. Caldwell right before this meeting started. And when we talked about, I have the statistics right here, even our AP students, the AP rate, say for example, the pass rate is 78%. Obviously, we're not at 100%, so there's still room to grow. I think what we have to do is make sure that we're intentional with finding the deficiencies where they're not growing, because even an advanced student continue to grow. So I think we have to monitor through assessments and make sure that we understand exactly where their students at. But when you look at the baseline of what every student is, there's some deficiency with every student. There's no such thing, obviously, as we know, a perfect student. So I think we have to pinpoint those deficiencies and still work at it. Even the kid that's offered high, that just got a 31 on the ACT, we realized that math was a deficiency on his ACT. So obviously, with after school tutoring and just working on the various programs, we still have to grow. We'll be looking at from the K-8 model, obviously ZERN, we've adopted that through the study. There's no cost to this particular district, but the ZERN assessments are showing that the students still have the ability to grow. So through that particular software program, it offers competitive challenges to be able to pinpoint areas where students need to grow. So in a nutshell, I mean, every student have the ability to grow. We just continue teaching them and taking it to the next level. I don't know if that answers your question.
So you answered the question, some of it, but are there standardized processes to assist those students in every school?
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question?
Are there standardized processes to address these concerns for this group of students in every school?
I think we have a process to address it in every need, but at the same time, we have to be able to, let me just say this, let me go back. Do we have a process to address it in every school? Absolutely, yes, because we try to make sure that we put a high quality teacher in front of every student. So that's our process in CPSB, that we want to make sure that every child receives that high quality education using high quality instructional materials with that individual who's leading the classroom. Now, is it done consistently throughout the district? I will honestly say no, but there's many factors that contribute, and it starts with the school leader as well. So making sure that the process that we have, we created as a central office staff, but also we have to believe that that leader is making sure that those processes are implemented with fidelity on the campus.
Any more questions? Anything else, Mr. Harvey?
I do want to just kind of close out with this. I know a lot of times, and this may be a little bit off the record, but a lot of times I know people tend to think that central office is just very heavy as far as personnel. I can tell you, as the chief academic officer, we're trying to get the best bang for the buck, and I definitely want to give another shout out to the central office staff and the CNI department, because I probably haven't been the easiest person to work for, but I'm going to continue to push the needle, because at the end of the day, I feel like we have to be the schools. I can tell you that They're not just sitting on Shattuck Street. I can tell you that they're in the schools. They're constantly creating systems to make us a better district. And I'm saying it to say this kind of speaks to Dr. Washington's question. People are fine, like personnel is good, but we have to continuously create systems that's going to make our district better. People just will not make our district better. It will be the systems and making sure that the systems are created and implemented correctly. That's why the charge has been pushed to make sure that we have school leaders in place who's actually going to do the work. And I will tell you that there are several school administrators who we've been paying a lot of attention to because some people are just not following the systems that we have created. And we're not just creating these systems off the top of our head. These are research-based systems that are backed by NIT best practices. And that is the way we're going to make Calcasieu a better place to be able to educate kids, but also to make it a better place where teachers want to be and where teachers want to stay. So I'm asking if you get any pushback from your administrators, my door is always open. Please call, please text, and I can give you the real trend data of what's happening on the schools that you represent. But we're going to need that support and that buy-in from these school leaders because some school leaders we've been consistently coaching up, but I would be honest, there's some school leaders that we need to start coaching up.
Anything else? All right. Have a motion to adjourn? Stay right there.